I just put 100 down. Bet it on Maroon to go. Bet it on Maroon to go.
I am your host, Nick Izzo. I'm excited to be here. Great show ahead, so let's get right to it. We're going to start today's show off with a question. It's a fantastic question that can be asked all over the place, from life to love, and most importantly to football. What's next? What's next for the Garden State Herd now that the season is over? And it's an important offseason. You know, it's your first year in the league. You didn't get to where you wanted to be. You finished with an underwhelming record. What do you do next? Where do you go from here? The good news is I think the Herd's in good hands. To understand how this offseason is going to go, you got to look at the coaching staff and the main players here. The main players in the coaching staff are going to be kicked off with head coach Wayne Dabney. Coach Wayne's a former player, definitely not used to missing the playoffs by any stretch of the imagination. And so you got to imagine that this season stung for him, and he's definitely taken it personally in that way. But he wholeheartedly believes in the principles that have been set forth on this team, and you know he expects that from the players. I think he pushes them a lot more than I think they've been pushed in the past, but he has great intentions and only wants to get the best out of them and the best out of this team. So Coach Wayne really knows what direction he wants for the squad. I think his biggest task coming up is going to be forming an offensive identity for the team, which we covered last week. They just don't have yet. I think he needs to really sit down and figure out, you know, what that's going to be and what this team's really going to look like coming out of the gate next season. And I will get to put that right to him in an upcoming interview we're doing on the Kaizen Sports Network on June 11th. So stay tuned into us and wherever you get our content, so that you can watch me get after him a little bit and get some good questions out there, and you know, see how the coach is really feeling about this season and about what's next. Moving through the lineup, you get up next the defensive coordinator, Juan DePena. Juan is the embodiment of competition. I can't really think of another way to put it. The man competes and will always compete until he can't compete anymore, and then he's going to compete even more than that. And he expects nothing less out of his players. And it showed in the defense of the Garden State Herd this year. They were dogs, no two ways about it. These were a defense that caused a lot of turnovers, made a lot of problems for opposing quarterbacks and wide receivers, and were just generally very, very dangerous, and kept the Herd in a lot of games that maybe they otherwise wouldn't have been in based on their offensive production. Coach Juan is going to expect a lot from the defense in the offseason as well. I know that if there were any points on the scoreboard at the end, he didn't do well enough in his mind. So he's going to be looking to shut everybody out next season. The defense is going to be working hard in the offseason as well. So I'd be very, very hopeful about their direction too. And, you know, just with those two main pillars of the team, you can kind of see what's next in the offseason. Now, it hinges on a couple of things, right? It hinges on how productive the players are in the offseason and recruitment. The good news on the recruitment front is yet to come. We got a lot more to do, a lot more to say. First things first, though, we got bills to pay. We'll be right back.
Interested in playing for the Herd? Make sure you check out the IG page and click the link in bio, or log on to www.gardenstateherd.com. Tell them Nick sent you, and remember, roll Herd, roll.
I just put 100 down. Bet it on Maroon to go. Bet it on Maroon to go.
And welcome back to Circle Up here on KSN. So recruitment. The good news is the word is out about the Garden State Herd. Former players, current players, the league is on notice. They've seen the culture, they've seen the team, they've seen the on-field product, but the guys hear a lot about what's going on over here, and they want to take part. I think you're going to see some interesting names come across the Herd's radar in the offseason. Whether or not they're able to parlay that into making the team is up to those players. The administration, the ownership expects a lot out of their players, as do the coaches, as I said. And, you know, some guys just aren't up to it. And if you need an example, look no further than the offseason. You know, first year in the league, offseason is key to make the second year what you wanted the first year to be. And this team's offseason is unlike any I have ever experienced in my time with minor league football organizations. The season ended with the Herd, right? We found out they were going to miss the playoffs. Fine. Maybe a week or two after that, we got off-season workouts for positions. So the skill guys got theirs, the line got theirs. Here you go. go do it. That by itself was pioneering. I don't know many teams that are doing it that way. A lot of guys are more than happy to just say, all right, if we see you at the interest meeting, we see you at the interest meeting. And that's it. Not only, though, did off-season workouts go out, and they said off-season workouts go out, make sure you get in there and look at it, they also got into the group chats, got into the team groups, and said, great, where are you now? Where do you want to be? Here's your goal. Here's what we're setting for you. Go out there and get it. And that better be what we see from you come OTAs. Which is nuts. It's crazy. There's not another team doing this right now because this isn't a spring football team. This is a program. This is a minor league football program, and it's being conducted that way. These coaches are not only holding the players accountable, they're holding themselves accountable, and they're saying, look, you want to be on this team, you want this team to do the things that you want it to do, show us. Come back having done this work in the off season and show us you're ready to make a bigger, badder Garden State Herd. And I think that's only going to go well for him in the next season, because you're either going to get guys who weren't up to that and say, yeah, no thanks, and peace out, or these guys are going to grind, they're going to work, they're going to get everything that they can done to keep that competitive edge honed, and by the time OTAs finish and games start, this is going to be a dangerous football team. No two ways about it. We're going to cover what we hope the defensive vision will be for the Garden State Herd in an upcoming interview with Coordinator DePena, also soon to come here on KSN. So make sure that you are liked, subscribed, following, whatever you do, to make sure that you stay up to date with us and everything that we're doing here. A couple more things to get to, and we will get right to them after this.
Small ongoing positive changes can reap major improvements. Join us for a 3-part series featuring the Garden State Herd football program.
We'll be right inside, Ricky.
Every play.
As they embark on their inaugural season, a journey, a brotherhood, a herd. Brought to you by the Kaizen Sports Network in collaboration with the Catch Card app.
I just put 100 down, bet it on Maroon and go, bet it on Maroon and go.
We're back. Circle up. KSN. It's me. Here we go. So, where does this all go? What does this offseason translate to? What's going to happen next? Here's the thing. If, based on what I know about these coaches, and what you will soon know about these coaches when you catch their interviews coming up on KSN in the coming weeks, if they make the moves in the directions that they want to do, and these guys buy in to the offseason, buy into this program, I'll be shocked if they lose any more than a game or two next season. I will be shocked. I'll be shocked. I'm inclined to say undefeated, but fluky games happen. They do, so I'll give them one, maybe, but hard to see more than that. And we covered last week. This team doesn't have miles to go. They just don't. It's feet, it's yards, maybe, but not miles by any stretch. And those corrections in an offseason with a team this driven and a staff that cares this much can be made. And they do care. Make no mistake. These coaches have been in contact with their players on an almost weekly basis since the season ended, which is also something that I've never seen before. Unless I reached out to a coach and said, hey, I left my pad somewhere. Do you have my all-star jersey from this year or whatever? Outside of that, I don't talk to my coaches until the interest meetings start in the past. But this year you got them reaching out over text. Hey, how's it going? What are you doing? How are things? Are you doing this? You got your workouts? What's next? And I think what's next is the off-season mantra for this team, because it signifies taking on everything that you've got and then some. Like, all right, you're going to go do your first season. Never been in the league before. Done. Check. What's next? All right, you got this incredibly tough offseason. You got to grind. Check. What's next? All right, OTAs. A lot of hard work. Install. Get the offense right. Get the defense ready. Check. What's next? And you're just going to keep going until all that's next is figuring out what the ring is going to look like, because that's where we're headed. Make no mistake about it. No mistake about it. We got Hoof Beats coming up right after this break. We're going to pay some bills and be right back.
I give my heart. I give my heart. I give my heart. I give my heart. I give
Welcome back to Circle Up, a quick hoofbeat segment from us today. Newsworthy, noteworthy events from sports and popular culture. In professional sports, as the Yankees and Mets continue to win and see just exactly what's going to happen as the baseball season moves forward, you've got the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors putting on a show in the NBA Finals. If you haven't caught a game yet, I suggest that you do. They're playing some pretty solid basketball up there. The Colorado Avalanche have won the Western Conference. They are sitting there waiting to see whether they will play the Tampa Bay Lightning or the New York Rangers for the Stanley Cup. And no real crazy moves for the Giants and Jets, but there is noteworthy news from the NFL as Aaron Donald reworks his contract, gets a $95 million deal for the rest of his 3 years, $65 million guaranteed, and a 24th civil lawsuit filed against Deshaun Watson. So things to keep an eye on for sure, but not nearly as noteworthy to keep an eye on as your Garden State Herd off-season moves. Make sure that you are tuned into the KSN moving forward for interviews with head coach Wayne Dabney and defensive coordinator Juan DePena, all soon to come. We're also going to have exclusive coverage of the Herd Awards banquet that's coming up in July, so keep it tuned right here for updates on all that. We're going to break that down in the weeks leading up. Outside of that, this has been Circle Up. I have been Nick Izzo, and this is the Kaizen Sports Network, your source for sports, popular culture, everything Herd, and the home of the best mustache in broadcasting. Thank you, and we'll talk to you soon.